Yo, this is SoulDrum86 bringing you another video. So I wanted to talk about NBA The Run. By the way, before I go any further, I will be uploading a gameplay video probably today, the same day as this video goes up. The gameplay is really just me getting a feel for how the game, how the game plays. I'm in shoot around, and then I think I recorded two games. One I lose, one I win. And when you watch me play, the second game, it's one of those games where you have to shoot threes. Threes cost or threes are more points than like anything else. I think everything else is 1 point. Threes are threes. But I even still almost win the game, but I was just kind of doing my own thing just because I was trying to get a feel for how the game plays. But I'm going to get into all of that. So let's get into it. NBA The Run is actually a fun game. There was a lot of people like me just kind of pointing out what we saw from gameplay footage, right? We can only judge something at first by what we see. Playing it is a different animal. I will admit that playing it is a different animal. Now, even though I didn't assume this, I had hoped that this was the case, that what we were seeing and how the game plays and how it feels would be a difference. And that's pretty much the best way to explain NBA The Run. Watching NBA The Run, it's easy to look at what the game is lacking and thinking like, this game doesn't look that good. But man, let me tell you, and I know a lot of people probably played the beta, so like you might be somebody that still thinks the game is not that great, or you might be thinking like me now and kind of taking back every negative thing that you said about the game, almost every negative thing that you said about the game, because truth be told, there's still some things that the game needs to work on. But overall, I was enjoying myself. I probably only got to play about 2 hours of the game. And I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I probably didn't even get a full 2 hours on the game, but I definitely played over an hour of gameplay. Um, and the game is fun. The game is really fun. At first, you will think that there's not a lot of dunk animations, but then you start to look at how, you can hold other triggers to implement new dunk animations, and the dunks that they do have in the game are really cool. They look good. I think the way that the animation looks when they're doing the moves, it looks good. Everybody does have their signature shot, because when I was shooting with Damian Lillard, I had a team of Damian Lillard, LeBron, and Giannis. They all shot differently, and I believe it was their signature shot, if I'm not mistaken. It looked like how you would typically see them shoot in real life, which was a nice touch because I didn't really expect that from looking at the gameplay all these weeks with people playing early on PC for those beta tests and everything. I didn't really pick up on the fact that everybody was shooting differently, because a lot of the fadeaways are done the same way. Like when you're doing shots like that, the floaters are done pretty much the same, but just like a standing regular jump shot, everybody has their signature jump shot. The game is fun. It's fast paced. It does not feel slow. The running animation has been changed from what I could experience myself. You do feel the sense of speed once you hit turbo and you're running up the court. They do look a little bit different. Not totally different, but they do look a little bit different animation wise when you're holding on to the trigger. They don't look like they're jogging. They literally go from a jog to a run. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily sprinting down the court, but they do start to run. For anybody who didn't get to play the open beta test, you'll be able to see this in the gameplay that I do upload. The reason why I got Gran Turismo 7 in the back is because obviously the beta test only lasted several hours, so this is what you got. I did record a video initially. It was like my first impressions, and it did have NBA The Run gameplay in the back, but things that I was saying about it at my early impressions, when I started to play the game even more, I couldn't upload that video because of certain things that I was saying, because I was discovering new things along the way. So I was like, okay, can't put this video up anymore because I'm gonna sound like a dumbass. So there's only like one layup animation. They do need to add more layup animations, big time. I've noticed that playing the game, and you'll see it in my gameplay. I wish I was talking, but I wasn't. I had everything like muted. Um, I even turned down the video game's music for the first for the games that I played, because I wanted people to hear the sound effects of the game, get a feel for the sound effects if you haven't played the game or whatever. Again, I know I'm probably talking to a ton of people right now who did play the open beta. I mean, it was open. It was an open beta. All you had to do was download and play it. They do need more layup animations because you can dunk in this game without the turbo button, which is interesting. I was testing it out and I kept doing the same, like you'll do the same one-handed dunk animation. And it typically, I think it's everybody's signature dunk, because it's, if you just kind of jog to the hoop and hit the shoot button, LeBron will do his one-handed tomahawk jam, right? And Damian Lillard has a standard dunk that you'll hit without hitting turbo. If you just going towards the basket and hitting the shoot button, there's like a standard dunk. I feel like instead of making that a dunk because turbo is not being held at that point, I think that they need to make those layup animations. If you're going towards the basket without hitting turbo, it should be a fancy layup. This game's animations look pretty good, and I think they would benefit from having fancy layups added into it. And and say if have basketball players in there that don't really dunk, you can even kind of take from NBA Jam in the sense that in NBA Jam everybody could dunk. Like, I'm talking like the old school NBA Jam. Everybody could dunk, even players like John Stockton, but you had to be right up on the basket, like literally right up under the basket to trigger a dunk for the shorter players. However, when you sprinted and tried to dunk from far away in NBA Jam, they would do a layup. They automatically triggered a layup because their dunk stat was very, very low because they weren't dunkers in real life. They were more 3-point shooters or, doing something else. So I feel like that's something that the NBA The Run could implement, is sprinting towards the hoop with players that really don't dunk. They'll pull off a fancy layup as opposed to pulling off a dunk. Not making it to where they can't necessarily dunk at all, because it's an arcade basketball game. That's where you want to, be creative and have fun with that type of thing. But just an idea to throw out there. And if you're not hitting turbo, especially if you're not hitting turbo like sprinting, but you press the shot button, I think everybody should have a pretty signature layup, because in real life, basketball players do have a way that they lay the ball up. Everybody has like a signature layup that they pull off. Let's see. It is way too easy to block. Like, literally, you can snatch the ball out of the air. Now, to a degree, this really isn't that much of a bad thing. I can't complain too much about this. I know there's going to be people that disagree with me, but hear me out. In an arcade basketball game, I don't mind how easy it is to get shots blocked. And I mean, it is easy. In the second game, when I do upload the gameplay, you guys will be able to see me and this other guy that I was playing against. There were so many times where we were shooting threes and the ball was just getting snatched up out of the air. I would try to shoot with Damian Lillard. He was using LeBron, and he would snatch the ball out of the air. He was shooting with somebody, and I think he was using SGA. He tried to shoot. I would snatch the ball out of the air with Giannis. And you don't have to be that well. You do kind of have to be close to him to do that. But if you're close enough to the person getting ready to shoot, it won't even just be a swat, right? They'll literally they snatch the ball out of the air. I could see that getting annoying, but I was having fun. I wasn't too upset when that was happening, because there's a part in the game where we're kind of doing that to each other back and forth. He'll go for a shot. I snatch the ball out of the air. I go for a shot. He'll snatch the ball out of the air. I feel like block shots were happening more than steals. Steals seem to be a little adjusted. Um, there were times where I was able to get the ball loose. But when you do knock the ball loose, you kind of have to dive for the ball because it it's when I noticed in my gameplay, whenever I would knock the ball loose with just doing a regular steal, the ball didn't necessarily come towards me. It still went in the direction of the other player so they can be able to pick it up. So it's kind of why you have to dive for the ball after you get it loose so you can have a chance of getting the ball back. Shooting also is something that I'm not too mad about, again, because it's an arcade game. I've been playing NBA Jam, the one up machine, because NBA Jam is probably like my favorite basketball game of all time, even over NBA Street, and I love NBA Street. NBA Street, especially Volume 2, NBA Street Volume 2 is a classic, but for what NBA Jam means to me, it's my favorite game. NBA Jam back then, if you had, it felt like if you had the right release, you would make it a lot. You wouldn't make it too much because the game did have that. Because all they wanted to do was take your quarters back then, so they would design the game to where you couldn't make threes like too much, like you couldn't shoot too well, but for the most part, a lot of shots would go in. But then you would miss a lot of shots. Maybe I can't use as an example because the way NBA Jam was programmed, especially the arcade version, it was programmed and designed for the what do they call it? The rubber banding AI, where you'll go up by like 20 points, and while you're up by 20 points, they automatically start making shots harder to go in and stuff like that. So maybe I can't use that as a good excuse. I guess I'll just say this: the shooting with NBA The Run, it's an arcade basketball game. I'm not totally sure that they need to tweak it as much. I know I'm going to have some people disagree because I did have a lot of shots going in. The guys that I was playing with had a lot of shots going in. I can understand tweaking it to a certain extent, but for what I was playing, I was really enjoying the game. This is like night and day how I thought I was going to feel about NBA The Run, guys. I cannot stress enough that playing the game is very different from just seeing the gameplay. It's very different. Things that like I had an issue with, playing I didn't have an issue with. The players dribbling with just their right hand, I didn't have a problem with when playing the game. The trick moves that you can do in the game are cool. A lot of the trick moves are straight out of NBA Street. Like I recognize them. Like there's a lot of trick moves that are like pulled straight from NBA Street. Trying to think. They do have an animation where if you're standing there, and I kind of showcase this in the gameplay footage that I'm going to upload. It was during shoot around, of course. If you're just dribbling and not moving the controller, they will bounce the ball to the other hand quickly and then bounce it back. So it doesn't necessarily stay there. The problem is, as a basketball purist, somebody who understands, like a lot of you do, the reason why you want to dribble with both hands in basketball is to keep the ball away from the defender. It is a little weird that they just dribble with one hand during gameplay, right? You want to be able to switch because when you have a defender, you need to be able to switch the ball to the other hand so the defender has a less likely chance of stealing the ball from you. So from a basketball principle, that's why that was an issue. Trying to think. I'm trying to think. What else? So I covered the blocking. Being an issue for a lot of people. It wasn't an issue for me. I can't even honestly complain about it because I was having fun and I was winning some games. I won quite a few games, surprisingly. And I say surprisingly because typically when you're playing a game online, people get really, really good online really fast. And I didn't necessarily have the time to play enough of it, but it's not a game that's hard to get used to, but it is a game that you can learn new tricks. Oh, one of the moves that I like a lot in the game that add to other dunk animations is throwing yourself an alley-oop. Oh my gosh. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you hold L1, and when you hold L1, you'll see the triangle button on the backboard. Once you hit triangle, they'll toss it off of the backboard, and then at that point you can jump. And when you jump, they have a different animation. I saw at least 4 or 5 different dunk animations for throwing an alley oop to yourself. I even did a alley oop to myself where I was going up for a dunk. While I was going up for a dunk, I was holding, and this kind of happened by accident. If you hold L1, you'll pull off a different dunk. Holding L2 pulls off a different dunk, et cetera, et cetera. So I was holding L1 when I was going for a dunk, and I hit triangle because I had noticed that the triangle. This is when I first noticed you can throw an alley oop to yourself. Mid-air, while I'm in an when I'm in an animation for a different dunk, I hit triangle. He changes his animation, tosses the ball off of the backboard, and I was able to jump and attempt to dunk it in that way. So I was going for a dunk. While going for a dunk, throwing the ball off the backboard, and then also catching the ball again to dunk. Now, I did miss, but it was cool. It was really, really cool. Some people were claiming that the rim, this was early on, people were claiming that the rim doesn't bend when you dunk. It absolutely bends. You will see that if you've played it, or you'll see it in the gameplay that I upload. The rim does bend when you dunk the ball. Sound effects are dope. The chain net sounds gorgeous. Sounds gorgeous. I love chain nets, and especially in street ball games. I just love the sound that it makes when the ball goes in the basket. It just sounds so good, and they nailed that sound effect. All right, let's see what else. Trying to figure out what am I missing gameplay wise. Trick moves, I covered that. They did add more trick moves. The trick moves are really cool. It's nice to see a variation of them. Let's see. Oh, my biggest complaint. I'm so close to buying the game when it comes out. I'm so close. What might prevent me from buying the game? No offline single player mode. Now, I knew going in that there was no offline single player mode. However, Knockout Solos was not what I thought it was. When people were talking about it early on, I was under the impression that Knockout Solos was you controlling all 3 of your players, but you're going against AI opponents in the tournament. No. All it is you're controlling all 3 players on your team, and you're playing against other people who are controlling all 3 players on their team. Play-by-Play Studios. It is very, very, very vital that you start to implement some offline modes. You have to. I felt so like, because I'm not an online player. I don't typically like playing people online. It's not what I do. I don't like the way certain people find ways to cheese games. It's just not what I do. The only time that I play online in a game is when I would buy Call of Duty and I would play with my buddy at work. That's it. Other than that, and that's one of the worst games to play online with how people play Call of Duty. But when you're playing at least with a team of friends, it makes the experience 1,000 times better than when you're playing by yourself online. I can tell you right now, everybody on my friends list, they are not interested in getting NBA The Run. Not because they don't think that it's going to be a good game. It's because they play something different. I have a friend that plays Madden and like single player campaign adventure games. I have a friend that plays Call of Duty, and that's it. I got friends that play uh, RPGs. You know what I mean? Um, Not necessarily NBA games. And when they do play an NBA game, they're playing 2K, not NBA The Run. So I don't even have friends that I could link up with in this game to play it. But besides all of that, I really felt duped because I thought solo knockouts was about playing against AI because of the way that they would do it in the write-ups. It was like, hey, if you don't want to be teamed up with somebody, you can just play knockout solos. And I'm like, cool, I would love to do that. But I'm playing against somebody. I'm like, I don't want to do that though. I'm like, I really don't want to do that. But I think, look, play by play. This is what you got to do. Exhibition mode, right? For couch co-op or just you playing a random game against the AI. Have it to where you can modify how you want that game to play. What do you want to score to, right? So do you want the game to end at first to 21? Do you want the game to end at first to 50 points? Do you want the game to end at first to 100 points, et cetera, et cetera? Have it be, because the games can be pretty short, but it's not really a bad thing. I actually like the length of games because even though they're short, depending on how the game is going, they can kind of extend and feel like, and not feel longer. They can actually go longer, but have it to be where we can play an offline mode where we can modify the games to our liking, right? Meaning we can set the rules. 3-pointers are threes or they're twos. Things like that. And then setting what, you know, because I think even in NBA 2K, when you're playing blacktop, you can set like what the final score is going to be. I might be wrong on that. It's been a long time since I've played blacktop or NBA 2K, but they have games out there where you can modify like, hey, the game will end at who scores the first to 21. Make it to where, hey, the first to score 30, the first to score 40. Um, we need a campaign mode, right? We need a mode where give us the choice. We can either pick 3 NBA players and create a team and go through a tournament ourselves against the AI, or and also have a mode where we can create in that same mode, I guess I should say, we can create ourselves, create a player and recruit 2 players to play with. And we go through and try to win the tournament, right? That's the best way. And have it to where there's multiple tournaments. Have it to where there's like 3 tiers, right? You play through a tournament and you have like silver, bronze, and gold, right? That last tournament, that's the big one, right? Just to give the single player mode some meat on the bones, I should say, right? But that's what I would do. Uh, it has to have an exhibition mode. It has to have some sort of single player mode where you're playing for something. Let's see. But yeah, I think that's about it, guys. And my real true first impressions of NBA The Run, NBA The Run is not a bad game. It is not a bad game. There's things that they need to still work on, like having one layup animation is not good enough, and you have to be pretty much right up under the basket to see it. It's a cool looking animation, even though it's a basic standing kind of like finger roll, like you know what I mean. They just kind of like throw it up in there, but it does look good. It does look good. The animations, after playing the game, I don't have an issue with the animations. I had a good time. If there's anything to take away from this video is that you can have a very good time with NBA The Run. But look, and I hate to say this. I hate to say this. Without a single player mode, it's hard to put $30 on this game because it just limits your options. Because me and just like a lot of other people, there's going to be people out there that we aren't online players. We're more offline players. So don't get me wrong, even though I'm damn near there, right? Like, I'm willing to spend the $30, but what makes it even more difficult to spend the $30 is not having a single player offline mode. The game severely needs that, and it needs it kind of soon. I'm just saying. But that's really my thoughts. Let me know what you guys feel if you played it. Again, probably going to get 2 videos today because I do have gameplay to upload. So, it's your boy Soul Drum 86, and I'm out. Peace.